Hello, and welcome back to the MotherTongue podcast. I'm here today with the co-founders of This is Mom Bod. We have Alexina Cather, who is a single mom to three boys and works in food policy and school food. She grew up in San Diego and holds a BA in integrative biology and a minor in anthropology from UC Berkeley, and an MPH from the University of San Francisco. In 2020, after years of living and working in New York City, she moved to Vermont but still works in New York City. And her juggling skills have gotten so good that she often thinks she should join the circus. Love that. And Emily Gaynor Porto, who is a divorced co-parenting mom to a boy-girl twins and works in the art world as a publicist. She grew up in Portland, Oregon, and holds a BA in Hispanic Studies from Vassar College and an MA in Cultural Memory from the University of London. After years of living and working in New York City, she now lives in Cooperstown, New York. Welcome, both of you. I'm so happy to be in conversation with you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. And I actually, as I read your bio, Emily, I'm so curious about cultural memory
Yeah.
as a top. What is that about?
It's more of a way in than a discipline itself. So I studied issues in contemporary Spain, and cultural memory is a way of looking at different narratives that we use now as like a lens for viewing the past and understanding memory in the way we kind of conceive of our present through stories about our past.
Oh, wow. Fascinating. Very cool.
Thanks.
So tell us about your organization and how it came about.
You want me to start?
Go for it.
Yeah, so we were both living in New York City and had a mutual friend. And, our mutual friend did not have children, but we kept talking about our children and sometimes, venting, talking about parenthood, our partners at the time, and how all of that played. And I think she finally got to the point, our friend, who is still a dear friend of both of ours, that she was like, yeah, maybe I'm tired of hearing about this. I'm going to connect the two of you so you two can talk about some of your experiences and shared, everything. So she did that, and instantly Emily and I, very much hit it off. I remember clearly the day, and Em, I'll let you weigh in, but we were at Le Frac, which is kind of this huge water park place. And we had toddlers, and I was so pregnant. It was the middle of summer in, in Brooklyn, and I was pretty miserable. And it was, but still, meeting somebody for the first time can be awkward. It wasn't like that at all. It was very much the beginning of a friendship that has lasted more than a decade through good times, bad times, all of that. So did I
Yeah.
miss anything?
Yeah, no, that is yeah, how we met and then we stayed in touch and so my twins are the same age as Alexina's oldest and so we then this is a mom bod idea kind of began when we were in COVID. We both escaped the city thinking that maybe it would just be like a temporary pause on the city. And Alexina went to Vermont. I went to upstate New York. And at some point, we just thought, you know, parenting is just such a crazy journey. And COVID was such a weird time. We wanted to start writing about it. So we just started doing this Substack. And really, it was just like, for fun. We wanted to notice the funny, weird things about parenting and just sort of all the different cultural nuances too. And so we started writing a Substack and then took a bit of a pause when Alexina got pregnant with her third kid. And then when we came back to it, we thought, let's see if this can change shape a little bit. So we continued with our Substack, but we also then built more of a brand around it. We renamed it. It was called Parenting. It was like sort of a silly name before, and we and then we changed it to This is a Mom Bod, which was a name that we thought was sort of cheeky and fun, but also was this nod to this double standard that exists throughout motherhood, where and we thought that the mom bod dad bod dynamic was this really exemplary kind of illustration of that double standard where a dad bod is considered kind of cute and unassuming and fun and like, oh, you must be this great dad if you have a dad bod because you're like drinking beer and barbecuing and playing with your kids and you're not like stuck in the gym. But if
Right.
you have a mom bod, it's like, oh my God, you've let yourself go. We better fix this. And we just thought this was sort of a funny kind of way in to talking and thinking about and noticing all of these ways in which we hold mothers to this one standard and fathers to a completely different one, and how that also pervades just everything in throughout this sort of patriarchy.
Yeah, totally. I love that. And how was your own experience of coming into motherhood? Like what did that shift in your life? Because this, this creation of Mom Bod came after, obviously. And so I'm always curious how matrescence shapes us and how it shapes our journey of what we're called to do in this world.
Yeah.
You want to start with
You want
that
me
one? I feel like
to?
I feel like that was a big, I mean, it was for both of us, but I think you uniquely have a
Well, for me, it was like a shock. I mean, I had twins, and at the time, I was married to someone who was traveling a lot. And so there was just a lot of kind of figuring out how to raise twins, doing a lot of it on my own. I mean, not that he wasn't supportive, but I was just like literally just by myself a lot.
Yeah.
And I think, aside from how hard it is, just how much physical labor it is and emotional and mental labor it is to have kids, I also was so surprised by the expectations on women that are so rooted in like what we call now traditional roles. Um, I really thought that as a society we had come farther. I really thought that that we weren't placing all of these expectations on women anymore, but suddenly I felt like I was just in the 1950s and everyone around me was speaking this language of like expectations on the mother that didn't stand for the father. And I had really grown up in this, I don't know, maybe it was like growing up in the Northwest or whatever, like, or it was the liberal arts educational sphere that I had lived in for so long. I don't know what it was, but it was really just like this facade of progress was just shattered. And I was just like, whoa, like I am so surprised to find myself in this position of the way that everyone talks to me and expects things of me that they don't expect of my husband.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they say motherhood is the unfinished business of feminism. It
Fully.
was because it was largely excluded in the original movement as this, oh, well, we don't want to, we're these liberated women and we don't want to be associated with this older kind of archetype of, the stay-at-home mom. And yeah, and so it's like there's so much within the institution of motherhood that is completely patriarchal and I imagine can be like a real rude awakening when you have the background that you had and
Yeah.
you weren't expecting that.
Yeah.
I grew up in a single parent household. I was raised by my mom mostly with help from my grandma. And, my dad, I knew when I was younger and then again in my teenage years. But um, I had always watched a very hardworking woman, who was working a ton, couldn't always be there, maybe as much emotionally. And so I wanted to do it differently. And I had a partner for many years when my children were together, but I still worked. I was the primary breadwinner, and also I felt like I was carrying all of the mental load and the cooking and all of that around the house. And I just got so tired of it. I run really high on energy. Emily can attest to that, but I was angry and bitter, and it came across as this like not being a good partner, but it was just impossible. We have this fallacy that we tell women that you can have it all, you can be a mom and you can work, and it's just one, it's not possible, and that's fine. That's okay. There's only so much energy and there's only so many hours in the day, and this fallacy that we put on moms like if it's not working for you, you must not be doing something right. But I think the thing that broke me in the end was this invisible labor and the mental load in the house that was just completely not appreciated in motherhood. Not as much in a partnership. It didn't feel like that. It felt more like two individuals kind of working things out. But when the kids came into the picture, I just felt like that was so unbalanced. And, this week I'm running around still getting everything ready for the teacher's gifts and all of that. But at least I don't have someone to be mad at because I'm just going to do it. So
Right.
I think there is just, and this is a theme that I see in all my friends who are happily married as well. It's very, very rare where you see a family with two working parents. It's still the majority of the time when the Google sheet goes out for for the parents to sign up for something. I look and I'm like, this is 95% moms who all have jobs outside of the home, which doesn't mean that I'm not saying that being a stay-at-home mom is not a very, very serious job and very busy, but I'm just saying that they spend equal amounts of time out of the home working as their partner, yet they're the ones signing up on the Google Sheet to bring cookies and, do the things. And so that was really jarring for me, and it made me bitter in some ways about motherhood. And I don't feel that now, but I did feel that a lot in the early years in my partnership.
Yeah. Yeah, and it makes so much sense for mothers to have some resentment or bitterness given the unsupportive culture and yeah, the different expectations. I know for me, it was a relief leaving my partner because I was doing everything anyway, and it's like if I'm going to be doing everything anyway, I don't want to have to deal with this added like this added responsibility of the partnership or and just yeah, not it's just I would notice that when I was in my own flow, things would be smoother. And then because he would be gone for a while and then he'd come back, and it's like everything gets disrupted. And um, yeah, I think it's not easy being a single mom, but in some ways I'm yeah, in some ways it's easier.
Some ways it's easier, and I think this is maybe going a little off track, but my partner and I separated twice because, just do things really just do it both two times. So, but the first time I remember I was sitting on a park bench in Brooklyn on a play date for the first time with my pre-K and another little boy. And the mom asked me, "Oh, what does your husband do?" And I was like, "Oh, actually, we're separated." And I kind of felt a little bit of shame around it still. I was harboring that, like
Yeah.
I failed somehow. And
Mhm.
I remember in that moment, she got up to pretend to do something with her child and came back and sat on a park bench next to me. Like
Uh,
it was like being a single parent was almost contagious. And so I think there's also that like societal, the way people view single moms. And we both very much want to push back against that because a single dad, it's like, oh, you're still around, you're still showing up for your kids. That's so great. And a single mom can sometimes there's this like trope of it being tragic, and it's not. Sometimes it's really a beautiful thing and you get to connect with your children better than you did in an unhappy partnership. So
yeah. Yeah, there's all ways that motherhood can look and work for different people. So you guys, did you both have a reckoning with your own body postpartum that kind of inspired the Mom Bod, or was it more like you just picked one aspect of all the double standards that exist and went with that?
I would say both. I mean, I think our brand is not about body positivity, although we're all for that and very supportive of it. It really was more that we were so outraged by this dad bod. We came across some article that we were going to write about this week that was celebrating how hot and sexy a dad bod was. And Emily and I were in the process of like sending each other pictures of like our stomachs postpartum and like, loving them still, but being able to be like, okay, why isn't this sexy? This created life, this carried life. Like, my breasts have changed. Like, why is that not sexy anymore? And so that was an easy thing to really call attention to, but yeah, it wasn't just about the bodies for us
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
for me. I'll let you weigh in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think being pregnant and having babies, especially having twins, is obviously it's a huge physical change, and you have to deal with a lot of physical changes that no one really talks about too. Like I was sort of surprised by so many of these things, um, like oh maybe my abs are just never really gonna be back together again or whatever it is,
Matter control for me,
or that, yeah. Um, and I think people are talking about it more, which is great. But really, the name, the reference to Mom Bod is really just a way in to many topics about double standards in the patriarchy and body and attempts to control women's bodies and make them topics of conversation and um, you know oversee what they look like and what is acceptable and what's not are all just examples to us of bigger issues and ways in which um, we need to treat motherhood and women just differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's the impact, or what feedback have you gotten from customers or followers in your Substack?
I mean, on the mom bod piece, we've had some people push back that we don't look like mom bods, which is really
What does that
interesting.
mean? Like,
Exactly,
Exactly.
right? First and foremost, like, what does that even mean? You don't, you're saying that with clothes on, you don't know what we look like with clothes on. Like, it's just such a weird thing. And again, commenting on our women's bodies, right? So that's something we've gotten a little bit of pushback just because people have determined that we don't have mom bods, even though we are moms with bodies.
right.
So that in and of itself is weird, but I think overwhelmingly our stories and our themes resonate with moms across, political aisles, across socioeconomic backgrounds. A lot of women are experiencing the same thing, and I do think that COVID was really a tipping point for a lot of women, both like how the childcare burden fell on women at home and then after going back to work, expecting that your mental health was good and everything's fine. And, the pay gap, the disparity we see increasing and women leaving the workforce. So I think that those messages and us talking about that as others are as well is resonating with moms and feels like people are not isolated and you're not too much to ask for systems and support both at home and in a broader, society. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I just also want to add that even though we're very critical of broken systems, a huge part of this is celebrating uh, moms and motherhood and the solidarity. And so I think the clothing line and the kind of logo and branding and stuff is just like it's a way to um, physically manifest that solidarity and togetherness of mothers across all kinds of different ideological spectrums, and to just say like a mom bod is a position of power, it's a position of strength, and it can look however you feel like you want it to look. And it can also be somebody who's just like kind of an ally. Maybe you're not a mom, maybe you're a dad. My male partner goes around in his mom bod sweatsuit all the time because he like just agrees with what we're saying, and he's just very supportive. And so um I think there's something very uplifting and positive too that we want to convey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. What's been the hardest part of this business, starting this business? And
I mean, balancing working moms and growing a business. For me, that's the time is the hardest part. I wholeheartedly believe in it. I love working with Emily. I love connecting with other moms, whether it's through Instagram or those that read our Substack, and exploring and diving into some of these really like controversial, sticky old, age-old themes that continue to perpetuate in the patriarchy that we live in, just showing up in, a little bit different ways. But I love it. For me, the hardest thing is just the time,
yeah,
figuring out.
right.
I think it's also it's a challenge. We both come from like sort of a nonprofit background, and we really value kind of like policy and knowledge and information, all that stuff, and change. And I
Being a
think
public servant and all
being
of
a
that.
public servant, yeah. And I think that for us, it's been like, well, how do we make money too? Like, how do we turn this sort of ideological kind of mission based thing into a business that actually is thriving and profitable, and just embracing this notion that as mothers that there's power in having a successful business and kind of figuring out how to bring the ideological and the sort of business together. Whereas we really come from a background where there's really like a bifurcation between those things.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's been a great, I mean, we have a business mentor that we work with who's wonderful. And we've really tried to get honest feedback from people. And, if there's anything that they don't like or think is weird, we always want to take that on board. So it's for both of us just a lot of learning.
Yeah. 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 As one of my mentors always says, if you're, it's not feminism if you're not getting paid.
Exactly. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And we've been so indoctrinated to like sort of serve and not
Right.
expect anything in return. And that's really breaking that down has been a process for us.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the feedback that you've gotten from people like that have bought your clothes and
Oh, I mean, the people who own our clothes love them. They're
We're not just saying that either. Like
we're not, yeah, yeah. Actually, like once people actually buy them and own them, they're great. They're comfortable, they look cute. They're really mindfully designed for people to be able to wear every day doing whatever they're doing. I mean, they're not like ball gowns, but they,
Right.
it's streetwear. And so yeah, we've really not had any negative feedback on the product itself, which has been
Yeah.
great.
We've also had some funny stories. Like last Christmas, we had just released a new line, and a friend of mine that I went to high school with, who still follows me on Instagram and knows that this business has started, sent me a text message and said, "You're not going to believe this." Another friend of hers that I have no connection to had sent her a Mom Bod tank top for Christmas. And it was just like this weird way where, like women and our connection really it was kind of wild. And then there have been other times where I've like noticed someone in the supermarket in a place that where I don't live, or like far random wearing a Mom Bod beanie. And so it's kind of awesome. And I will say, I have to say, the sweetest part of it is actually my kids and our kids' friends who are so excited. I have all boys, and most of their friends are boys, and they like a couple of them have wanted the sweatpants, and they don't know the whole story behind it, but I just find it really amazing and sweet. And I've had the other friends where like they wear the sweatpants all the time. I'm like, maybe do you want to do wash the like, like
Yeah.
how often are you wearing these? But I do. Both Emily and I, we get home and we're like, put them on. The hoodie is so cozy, and the clothes are really meant to be comfortable and make moms feel, comfortable in whatever they want to wear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks really comfortable. And you on your website you talk about your belief that style and social responsibility go hand in hand. Can you tell us a little bit about what that looks like for you in practice?
This is a great one. And this is something, that I feel working in food policy. Obviously, there's the sustainability aspect there, and I try to carry that into other places. And in the fashion world, there's so many different ways to do things, and there's fast fashion and what works best for us. And Emily, please like weigh in. But what works best for our business is to make sure that everything's drop shipped so that we're not purchasing huge amounts of clothing that just sit there. If, say we have a new line and it doesn't sell the way that we think it's going to sell or something like that, we're not purchasing in excess. So each item is individually printed and shipped to that person, which reduces the footprint of a lot of the fast fashion out there. You want to weigh in as well?
Yeah, I mean, we love that we don't have all this excess inventory ending up in landfills and things, but
Yeah.
I also think we just believe in style as a mode of self-expression, and we think that's important and that it's a way of showing kind of who you are and what you believe in, and that if you feel like you look good and you feel comfortable and stylish, then, that's foot forward. So we're all for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And I think also you donate a portion to Moms, what was it? Moms in Action?
So we rotate different charities that we support.
Okay.
And right now
We've
it's
done, yeah,
yeah,
good.
Mom Demand Action, which is the grassroots organization that advocates against gun violence in schools. And previously, we supported period.org,
No, no, no.
which, yeah, which
Mhm.
supplies period products for people who need them. And so the idea is that, that we're not just advocating and building community through our Substack and our clothing line, but that we're actually doing kind of measurable good by putting some money toward causes that we believe in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is so beautiful and so powerful. Yeah, the way that you've combined the donation, the messaging, the product, it's all like it's all in integrity and it's all in alignment with your vision, and it's inspiring. And I hope to see these product. I hope to see people wearing these everywhere. Like I think it's. I was going to ask you if you ever just see them randomly out on other people, and
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, but we hope it will happen a lot more too.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Is there anything else that you want to share before we close?
Um,
I mean, we love feedback if anyone's listening and has any feedback about not only the clothing line but also just would love us to explore a different topic. Every Friday, almost every Friday, we write a newsletter on something. Sometimes it's what's happening in the news, sometimes it's a pervasive theme. So we always love feedback and talking to people and connecting with people who maybe agree with us and maybe who don't. Like we are not opposed to having conversations with everybody from all different walks of life and across the aisle, so to speak. So we love interacting, and I would ask and invite people to have dialogue with us about these issues and other things that might be important to them around motherhood or the patriarchy in general.
yeah, that would be great.
Thank you. And your Instagram is this is Mom Bod, or this is
It's
a Mom Bod?
it's the Mom Bod brand.
We have
Oh, Mom
both.
Bod. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we have this as a Mom Bod, but we've moved to the Mom Bod brand and have been more active on that as of late. So we encourage people to follow us there.
Okay. Well, I will put all your links in the show notes, and thank you so much for
Um,
being here.
That was
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks for talking with us. Take care.
All right, you too.